皆さん、こんにちは。私の名前はキルソン・ベキです。アラスカから来ましたね。7年前ぐらい、家族と日本に引っ越してきました。That's a little greeting for you in Japanese. I said, hello everyone, my name is Becky Kilson. I'm from Alaska, and 7 years ago, my family and I moved to Japan. I just wanted to give you a little flavor, a little taste of what Japanese sounds like. And often we have people ask us to say a little something when we go back and visit the US. So I wanted to give you a sample. So like I said, my name is Becky and I'm from Alaska. I grew up in Alaska. My husband and I both did, actually. We went to college, and then after college we got married, and then we moved to Japan. And we've been here about 7 years, almost 7 years in March. When we moved here, I was pregnant with our first daughter, Naomi. She's 6 years old. And our second daughter, May, was also born here. She's going to be 4 in May. And then our son was born here last year. Next Thursday is his birthday, and his name is Daniel. So that's our little family. We work here in Machida, Tokyo. We work alongside another missionary family named the Turners. They invited us to come work here after we graduated from college. And I want to tell you a little bit about Japan as well. Japan is an island nation, and that means, of course, it's surrounded all around by water. Doesn't touch another country, and it's, I think, 4 main larger islands, and then lots of other smaller islands surrounding those 4 main islands. And it's interesting. Okay, I gotta figure out how to do this in the camera. If you pretend like this is Alaska, right? So this would be the East Coast. I gotta think, yeah, the East Coast, next to Canada. And then down here would be the Panhandle, and Juneau and Sitka, this little arm. And then, North Coast, and then down here in the middle, that's Anchorage, Wasilla, Seward Peninsula, Kenai, those areas. But this finger out here is to illustrate the Aleutian Islands. And the Aleutian Islands extend way across the Pacific Ocean towards Asia and Russia. They're almost, touching another Russian island. So, and Japan has northern islands that stretch up that way. So, as the crow flies geographically, Alaska and Japan are close, even though we're very far away from each other in Tokyo and Anchorage. Japan is close to Alaska, you could say. So we came here after we did a trip, 2 trips actually. My husband was interested in the country of Japan, the culture and the language from a young age in high school. And we came to do a short-term trip, and then we just kept coming back. And so we moved here to work here, and we've gotten to experience language and culture and tradition. Every day we learn something new about Japan. And one of the fascinating things about Japan is the modern and the traditional mixed together. They have old stuff, and they have new stuff, and it's all existing right alongside one another. Like, for example, the Emperor's Palace. The Emperor is like a king in Japan. His palace is downtown Tokyo, and it's hundreds of years old. It's old style. stonework. It has a moat surrounding it. A moat's a big river, like dug around the building for protection. But if you back up, when you're looking at this old stone palace, there's just skyscrapers all around this palace, gardens, and the palace itself. So it's the old and new mixed together. Japan is a really old country, especially compared to the United States. The United States is only about 300 years old, maybe 400 almost, and Japan is more than double that. So they have a long history and a lot of tradition, but they're also very modern. They're famous for robotics. They're famous for technology, cars, computers. So they have both of those things all at once, and it's pretty amazing place to live and learn and discover. One of the things that is interesting but not so nice is that Japan has only 1% Christians in the population of the Japanese people. So if you filled the sanctuary in CCA, in the Christian Church of Anchorage upstairs, if you filled about every seat, not jam-packed full, but just about full, you'd maybe have 100 people, and one of those people would be Christian. That's what it looks like to have 1% Christianity in Japan. Every 100th person is a Christian, and the 99 others are lost. So that's why we came here. There's lots of people to teach, and we want to share the gospel. So we've been living here and working here, and as we live and work here, we get to enjoy the language and culture. And part of the culture is origami. And Miss Karen told me that you girls are learning about origami, maybe practicing a few different styles. I wanted to talk about the word origami. Maybe you already looked this up, but the word itself means folding craft, folding paper. That's what it means. Ori is the word for to fold, oru or ori, and gami, also kami, is paper. So origami together means fold paper. And I asked my daughter what she thought I should do for origami craft to share with you. Oh, by the way, I wish that I could see your faces and do this in a video chat instead of recording this and sending it to you, but your Saturday is going to be my Sunday morning. So when you're having your Heritage Girls meeting, I'm going to be busy getting ready for church. So maybe another time I can do a video chat with you ladies. So when I asked her about what origami I should share with you, she said her favorite was a heart. She learns origami at kindergarten. It's a really common craft to do different origami throughout the year. It's often seasonal, like during springtime you fold flower origami. And rainy season, we have a rainy season a month in about June, where it rains every day. You might maybe do an umbrella origami. But she said her favorite was a heart. And so I thought that would fit really well with what I want to talk to you about today. So we'll get back to the heart conversation, how it relates to our ministry later. But this is the origami that I made for you. It's you can see it's a heart, but it also has this special bow that I folded in it. And it took me about 7 minutes and 2 attempts. I did a rough draft, and then I did a prettier one because I knew it wouldn't get it quite right the first time. I had not practiced at origami very much, even though it is very fun. This is the back. And origami is only paper folding. There's another craft called kirigami, which is cutting paper. So when you practice origami, it's never cut or pasted. It's always just depending on the folds to make the beautiful shape. So the reason I thought the heart would fit in with my talk today was because the reason we came to Japan was to share God's love. And that's something, maybe you've heard people say that in church or in Sunday school, or maybe your parents at home, but what does that mean, to share God's love? Do we put it on a plate and slice it up like cake and carry it around the room to people to share? Or do we break a piece off like Jesus did when he broke the loaves and handed out to people? How do we share God's love? So John 3:16 says, God so loved the world, he loved the world, that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him would not perish but have eternal life. So many of you probably heard that verse. It's very famous, but it says God shows his love by sending Jesus. And the way that we share that love is to tell people about that he sent Jesus to come live and die and be raised again, so that we can have hope and salvation through Jesus and his sacrifice. So that's what it looks like to share God's love. And another way to share God's love is to make a heart-to-heart connection with people, to show God's love in our actions. So we love because God loved us first. Even though we don't deserve it, he loves us. And so we love people when we don't know them, when maybe they hurt us, when they're really easy to get along with, when they're not. We still love people, and we show God's love to people. And we try to make heart-to-heart connections in relationship with people. So for me, that's my ministry, is to build relationships. My husband teaches, he preaches, he teaches English. That's a big part of his ministry. But my ministry is to build relationships with people, to fellowship, to reach out to our neighbors, to parents and students at my kids' school, people around the neighborhood. Before Corona, I was doing a cooking class so that I could meet people and teach them about God. We would cook every week, and then we would have a devotion, and I would read part of the scripture and share the good news of the gospel with them. Another thing that I do is I take part in the kids ministry. We have staff at Machida Church of Christ. We work with the Turner family, another missionary family, and we work with Haruka Otsuka. She's a Japanese girl. She went to Bible college, and she came back to teach the kids at this church. And while I don't teach the story, because that's over my Japanese skill level yet, I help with staff and doing crafts, and used to help with snack time, things like that. So that's a little peek about what things that I do in Japan, other than being a mom to 3. So I wanted to say thank you for having me come share today. I hope you learned a little about Japan. I hope it gets you interested to learn more. I hope you ladies have fun doing different origami crafts. I'm going to send a link to Miss Karen so you can find the YouTube tutorial for this heart ribbon craft if you want to try it. There's also other simpler heart origami crafts that you may be able to try as well. I wanted to close with asking you to pray for 2 things for our ministry. Tomorrow we have company coming over after church, and it's a family that's been coming to our church for about 6 or 7 years, but they haven't become Christians yet. And they've talked about it, and they've been, we say, counting the cost. They've been thinking about what it would mean to be a Christian. But they haven't made the decision. So if you would be praying for that family, we're going to have them over for play tomorrow. There's a woman and her 2 daughters. And so we like to have them over and build those relationships and encourage her and hopefully lead her to Christ someday. And also, another thing to pray about is that our family plans to come to the U.S. this fall. And we're just beginning to plan that trip. So if you would be praying for that, that's a big undertaking, lots of planning, and we're excited to be able to come back and see family and friends. So I hope your meeting goes well. I hope you enjoy learning about origami and maybe practicing a few different folding ways. And I hope you ladies have a blessed day.